Welcome to know more about different roles that we have in a software industry. Many of you may be aware of few of the roles, that is like testing, development, or a max of maintenance. But IT is not just about that. We have 5 speakers. We have a lightning talk of 5 different roles. So you will be knowing more about different roles that you have and the opportunities, etc. So we have our first speaker, Shweta Shivram. So please welcome.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Busy morning, a lot of traffic on the way here? Yeah? Okay. All right, so I'm going to quickly take you all through what I call has become one of the hottest, in demand, technical but not so technical, creative role, okay? And I'm going to be talking to you today about usability and user experience as a career choice. Anyone here already doing UI, UX, user experience? Excellent. So then you're a great audience because then I can, give you my gyan about what I know about usability, right? Okay. So what really is usability, right? Can we have the slides up, please? Thank you. All right. So, okay. So let's do a 101 of usability. I'll start with a small story, something that happens in my house every morning when the kids have to go to school, okay? So I wake up in the morning and then wake them up and I say, what do you want to have for lunch today at school? Or what do you want to have for snacks? And one of them says, I want cheeselings. And the other one says, I want Oreo biscuits, or something of that sort, right? And I'm like, okay, how about we do some pasta? Like, yeah, okay, pasta. And then I'm saying, okay, pasta. I'm going to definitely make it out of whole wheat. No way I'm making it out of white, the white pasta. So then I say, okay, how about some broccoli in it? And then one of them loves broccoli, so he says, okay. And the other one says, no, no broccoli. So I say, okay, mushrooms and corn. And he says, yeah, okay. And then I put it all together and I'm looking, okay, so there's some vegetable there is some cereal there, and I want to give them some fruit maybe. So in the short break, I say, will you all have grapes or apple today? And they say grapes or something of that sort, right? So we put up the whole thing together. I pack it. I put some smiley on a Post-it, stick it in so that when they open it, they're very happy about having to eat it and so on. And I pack it up and send it. And then when they come back in the evening, many times, the snacks are not eaten, right? It's half eaten for whatever reason. And I say, what happened? Was it not nice? So he tells me, oh, you kept a biscuit along with that and the biscuit got soggy. It wasn't nice. I'm like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. So maybe next time we won't do biscuit, we'll do something else. And so we work on it every day, right? Every day there's a question, you do something, you get feedback, and you come back the next day and you look at it. That's what usability is really. If you look at it, are you talking to your users? Are you getting their requirements? Are you giving them something of value despite all the junk they ask you for? I'm sorry, I don't mean junk really. And then at the end of it, are you getting feedback from them to go improve what you've done, right? In short, that's what usability is. So the way I look at it, and I'll narrate another story. And as I was driving this morning to the Taj, and I face this every day, there's a railway junction, okay, from where I pass. And at the railway junction, when the gates are put, you know how folks don't really stick to one side, right? They go on to the other side, and then there is just, you think it's a one-way road. And both sides think that, and that's where the problem is. So usually there's always a jam when the gate opens, and for about 5 minutes, no one's moving, people are yelling, someone's trying to bang into someone else, someone's trying to make their way. And then finally, there's this really, this person on a moped, he comes over, he goes and parks his moped in the corner where no one can reach, and he comes and stands in the middle of all this, and he starts yelling at everyone. He starts directing people, right? He says, you go right, you go left, you stop, you wait, you don't honk, and you stop shouting, right? So he's organizing this whole thing, and he's going from there to here, right? The way I look at usability is primarily this way, right? There's a lot of chaos. Everyone wants to get their job done. Product manager wants something, technical person wants something, the management wants something else, your user wants something completely different. Have you all seen that picture of the buffalo with the trunk when you want an elephant, right? So everyone wants something different, right? The way I see the UX person is to bring some order in the chaos. You are that person in the moped, where all these fancy people in their BMWs and all these cars are standing around creating chaos, and you come in and you say, hey, hold on, right? What does everyone really want? We want to get our jobs done. How do we get it done in the best possible manner? Right? Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So what do you really need to do in order to, and my slides seem to be going all over the place. I'm sorry about that. So what do you really need to do to be a UX expert, right? A usability expert, a user designer, UI designer, researcher, whatever. I would say keep your curiosity alive, right? That's the primary thing that you can do. Hone your wild duck, right? It's primarily think out of the box. Think about why are you doing something. And I just attended a session on internal empathy. Was anyone there? So there was a session on internal empathy that just happened right before this. And there they talk about asking the 5 whys. Whenever you start something, ask why you are doing it. You get into a project and you're given a task. Many times as youngsters, and when I started my journey young as well, it was about I was given a task and I had to do it. I never asked why I was doing it, what I was doing it for. I never saw the big picture, right? And I think increasingly it's becoming important as we get into the corporate world to understand what we are doing and why we are doing it. Whom are we doing it for? Are we doing it for our managers? Are we doing it for our peers? Are we doing it for ourselves? Or are we really working on it to give our customers some value? And unless you ask yourself those 5 whys about why are you doing what you're doing, you're never going to be able to reach what the customer really wants. Right? So starting with the whys, honing your wild ducks, keeping your creative side alive is what really matters. So when I talk about curiosity and talking about keeping things alive and asking the whys, let's take a very simple example, right? Look at your mobile phone, right? Maybe 5 years back, did you all have these phones? No. Did you have any touchscreen device of any sort? Had you all seen maybe, okay, it may not be 5 is stretching it a bit, but 10 years back, did you have any touchscreen devices? Could you go order stuff on a touchscreen device anywhere? No, really. Even when touchscreens came in, were you able to pinch and zoom back? Probably not, right? So the way I look at it, sci-fi is now, right? The things that we are doing, whether it's in terms of pinching and zooming, nonverbal communication is big these days, right? Trying to understand what the user is looking at, right? Siri has happened, but even before Siri, I mean, there were eye motion sensors that dim the screen while you're looking away. There are eye motion sensors that make it back bright when you're looking back at the screen and so on. So a lot of, the other thing is, if you look at your mobile phone, a lot of times I'm doing something in one hand, whatever it is, and the other hand I have a phone, I'm trying to call someone, right? And I remember their number, but I can't go search their name. So I want to just type out the numbers quickly, but then I have a small hand and I have a pretty large phone. So just getting across the screens to touch all the numbers sometimes is a usability problem for me. Right? So they've come up with actually research to say what are the parts of the screen that are most accessible by your thumb, because your thumb is what is moving, right? And so they're doing research of all kinds is what I'm trying to tell you, right? It's as simple as I want to make a phone call, I have only one hand to use and only one finger that can move in that hand. What can I do with that? It's as simple as that. Look at the daily problems that you all are having. When you open the door, is the door jamming into your foot? That's a usability problem. If you open your dresser and things are falling out of your dresser, that's a usability problem. So there's usability everywhere is what I'm trying to say, right? It's just a matter of, are you paying attention to your pain points? The more you pay attention to your pain points, the more answers you'll find to how to improve those and make those better for you, yeah? Okay, so talking about curiosity, leading into how, what really are the avenues for research and patenting and all of that. So what would your next step be if you got into a user experience role, if you became a usability expert? How do you usually grow in an organization, right? So if you look at it, you probably would start off with asking the customer a few questions. You'd probably be thrown right into the thing. So if you look at it, usability experience professionals really don't have a fixed thing that they do. They take care of the end-to-end, right from speaking to the customer, trying and understanding what they really do, using those inputs to create something that's of value to them, then providing that product to them in the design that would be most effective for them, getting the feedback. So they are involved in the whole loop. And I'll narrate a very short story about something that we were doing once. So I had a couple of interns from one of the design colleges out here in Bangalore called the National Institute of Design. And we were working on trying to find out a way to relate what the user did on a mobile screen to really how usable this product is or not. The app that they were using, trying to find out how usable it was. And while we were trying to do that, we said, okay, we need to get inputs from some of the users themselves. And so we set up meetings, right? We looked at what were the type of users we wanted to reach out to, looked at different teams, picked out those people, and then we sent out invites, sent out a note saying, hey, we're doing some research for something that we're working on, and we'd like to reach out to you to get your inputs on how you do it today. And you won't believe it, some of them were just so spontaneous, they just dived right into it, and they told us exactly how they work, what the pain points were of what they were doing, and what things they would like to improve. While we were doing that, we realized how important it was to listen to what they were saying. In the first interview that we did, this person started off, and he went on and on. He was giving us all the information that we wanted. Literally, it was the script that we had in our hand, where we were going to ask him 10 questions, and he had already answered the first 5 of those 10, right? And then at one point, because we were novices then, we actually said, hey, if you don't mind, we actually have a script. Can we actually ask you the questions? And you won't believe the change in the tone and the change in his natural flow, right? So he was just spontaneously going off. The minute we said we have questions, he was just waiting to give answers. So as a usability expert, I think what's important is to know how to connect with that audience. You don't have to go with the script, is what I'm trying to say, right? You have your questions, you want to cover a few points, and you'd like that person to speak about different things. So go prepared to change yourself as you're working with people. As you're working with users, with customers, you realize that one size doesn't fit all. You really need to adapt. And the more you do it, the better a UX expert you become. While we're talking about growth, there's another example I want to give you. We had a user experience designer, a researcher, who had put in probably about 15 years in this field, and he was helping us do a lot of our product design. And one day, I see, a last working day email, and he says, I think I've stretched the limits of what I can do in terms of product designing for software. I'm actually going to go into a hospital to design more usable spaces for the handicapped, right? So that's the vastness of the design, field. While you can do software and do product designing and application designing, there's also a whole world out there, right? And when I talk about that, there's this one quote that really stands out in my mind. I'm trying to bring it up now. Okay, I'm having a little bit of a moment here. But okay, so love the journey and the world will be your playground, right? I think that's very apt for a design career. It's about what you're doing every day, day in and day out. If you look at it right from the example of making snacks for your kids at home, if you have kids, or if you remember your mom's making snacks for you when you were young kids, right from there to everything that you're doing, the car that you sit in, the way you have your house, what you're doing at work, everything is about design. Right? So if you really love design, if you really understand that it's about the customer and trying to get to know his needs and how to best fit into those needs, then the whole world's your playground. Before I finish, I'm going to just talk a little about work-life balance and about how this fits into this entire gamut of things where you have your work to take care of as a user experience person, you have your family, you have your own hobbies and your personal self. I think this is a perfect career for someone like women, right? Coming up, looking at the different things that we are exposed to in the world. If you look at our generation today, the millennials that are coming out, they're so much more exposed to technology and to better design than we were as kids. Talk about whether it's just the way houses are constructed today or applications that are built, right? And I'll end with, design is about look at this, not look at me. So if you keep that in mind, you'll always keep the customer in mind. thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about this, and I'd like to hand it over to the next speaker. Thank you.
So our next speaker is Lipika De, and she will be talking about text analytics.
Okay, hi. Good morning, everybody. So after the very area in which you were all about pictures, all about more about usability, it's more about text, very, very verbose. I head the Web Intelligence and Text Mining Research Group in Innovation Labs under in Tata Consultancy Services. Okay, no, I think I'm doing it the other way around. Okay, so the phenomenal growth of social media today, where each one of us is a contributor, has actually led to tremendous rise of tremendous popularity of text analytics as a technology, which comes under the big data analytics umbrella itself. It can come in many garbs. So you may not actually hear about a text analytics professional per se. You may be hearing that one is doing text analytics under the garb of customer experience management or market research, or it could be even things like very specialized activities of fraud detection, event detection, and so on, which are all having an underlying technology of analyzing large volumes of natural language text using automation tools and techniques. So why is it so popular? Because all business organizations are really very, very interested to know what we as consumers are always thinking, what do we desire, what are our experiences about products and services. And in general, we can say that if we look at any kind of natural language text, particularly on the social media, it's like a snapshot of what people are thinking at any point of time and where are the thoughts headed towards. So what is really a career in text analytics? So it actually has three very different profiles, if one can think of. Though all of them may not be immediately to start with, but yes, at the very beginning, one could be actually considering a career in text mining itself, which is all about very computer science, looking at algorithms, developments of those tools and technologies which can help analyze text. On the other hand, it could be a career in text analytics, where actually these tools and technologies are what people use, and you become involved in analyzing large volumes of text to actually get the insights, as we call them. I'll just soon come to an example. The third one is where you need some more experience, where you would be actually using the insights that are gathered from these text through the analysis to look at how they can be best incorporated into the business decision making for the betterment of business, which ultimately was the aim for doing text analytics. Okay. So let us look at a typical workday of a text analytics professional. So assuming that you are very much into the analyst's work, so you will be expected to actually sit and analyze large volumes of text, not read them, but through the use of automated those tools and technologies in which you would be appropriately trained. So it is expected that you really know what those features and functionalities of the tools are. So where does the project work begin? Project work begins like this, that your project leader would be giving you an idea about what is the aim and objective of this analysis. Why is your client who has given you this text actually interested to analyze the communication which have come from their customers? What kind of questions do they want answered from these communications? Herein comes a bit of experience gathering, that as you work in for different clients, you start knowing the domains which you did not know. So it could be the text which has come from an insurance customer. In that case, you start knowing a little bit about the insurance industry itself. It may have come from healthcare. You start knowing a bit, and this curiosity to know about the domains is very, very important in order to grow in the career. That is why I emphasize that a text analyst is not just about the technology, but you have to take interest in the text that you are analyzing, or the tool that is analyzing for you. So I'm very sure that this is such an area that after being a part of few projects, it really becomes a passion to play with those tools, see what really is coming up from all those thousands or petabytes of characters that were there, but really what they are throwing up are those insights about people. So a quick look at what really is a path, what kind of prerequisites are there. So usually it starts with a BE, BTech, or an BE or BTech in computer science and allied areas. An MSc in math stats kind of area is also very, very useful for this work. MCA with a bit of understanding about how tools work and how to make those tools useful. A very, very desirable degree is really an MTech in computer science with specializations in machine learning and data analytics. There are also a large number of PhD students across all institutes in India and abroad who are today into research in text mining or even computational linguistics, who deal with actually the knowledge about how to make the automated tools understand language usefully, because it is very, very difficult to understand free flowing language. It's a much more difficult subject as such than in computer science than many of the other analytics areas. So let us quickly look at a path which is not a traditional development kind of a path, which is also very much possible for someone who is looking at a career in text analytics. It's a research path. So you can be very well associated to either industrial research or academic research, of course. Now industrial research is very, very interesting in this field today, because there are a lot of unsolved problems while trying to automatically analyze natural language text. So think of this, you people must have used so many tools where you see robots at the back end, where you are asking a question and the robo is actually answering on behalf of the organization. So it may be your holiday planning, where you want to know what kind of a place it is, what are the packages, etc. So there may be a robo sitting behind who is answering rather than a human being, because then the robo is up 24 hours. You can just connect at any point of time. There is no accent issue, no language issue, nothing that is coming in place. But it is not so easy for a robo to anticipate in what way a person would ask a question and in what way would it understand or answer. So that's very, very popular area, and popular not only as an academic research, but popular in industrial research. Similarly, biomedical text processing, because health is very, very important. Large volumes of text coming in the form of electronic health records are there with all organizations, and a lot of opportunity exists in that, and so therefore there are dedicated companies who are actually working in technologies dealing with biomedical text. Similarly, all other areas. So what do you do in industrial research? So in industrial research, you are typically involved in not just theoretical research, but applied research. And you really have a very good time publishing in conferences, traveling to conferences, publishing in journals, giving lectures all over the world. Also, a very close relationship with the real world data through client projects, becoming a part of many client projects. Patenting is another very important activity, because today companies are very much judged by their innovativeness quotient. So it offers tremendous amount of opportunity to actually go for your own patents, publish, travel, everything, being at even within a research career. If we look at opportunities across industry, there is no industry actually which is left. These also you can say are just a representative set of industries. Talk of any industry, they would have communication, and so therefore communication texts would need to be analyzed. There are two kinds of organizations where you can look for positions. It could be startup industry, which could be again a very technology oriented industry, which is into developing these tools and technologies for analysis. It could be also who are providing special analytics services to other organizations. And they are very niche companies which are every day you will hear they are getting acquired by the by the other giants. Both offshore and on-site opportunities are tremendous, again both in an analyst's role or as a contributor to the core technologies. Okay. So looking at a typical career graph, it could be very, very technical graph where you are actually following a technical career that is completely being into the technology, looking at how the technology will develop, how the technology can actually help organizations, whereas it could be otherwise a management career whereby you become more of a strategic consultant where you are actually guiding the business into how they can adopt this technology to further their business interests. Finally, just a short take, though I strictly don't believe that as a text analyst really there are any hurdles for being a woman. Rather, if you ask me, women, we love to talk, we love to share, so therefore we actually love to analyze volumes of text. So it's really something which I have found is very attractive, and women are very good at it also because it's kind of an instinct that they really like to understand the text. However, if I still have to give some advice as what a woman should really do, it's not very different from what we heard in the earlier session also, that because we have to accept that we'll have to multitask, it's always, I think about advanced planning. Plan your day, plan your week, plan your month to the extent possible. I'm not saying plan it to the extent of that you don't accommodate suddenly get together with your friends or anything, but plan so that especially the small things, you know, plan about how you would be, say, going to see someone who is sick in the office, sick to the hospital. At the same time, you wouldn't be neglecting your duties. That needs an advanced planning. How will you actually manage the children's coming and going from to and from school if your driver is not coming that day? These things need planning. But then, with all the planning, be sure that it's planning to solve a problem. Planning really not to take it upon yourself and do each and every task. Something that I strongly believe is that you grow your trusted set of lieutenants around you, and in these times the more important people of course are the maids, the drivers, what not, but have a trusted set of lieutenants and delegate responsibilities, just as you would also delegate responsibilities within your project or team members. You cannot do everything, you are not supposed to do everything. Finally, share, reach out to your other colleagues, female colleagues, seniors, juniors, even men, because men also have same problems at home dealing with it. You share your experiences, hear about how others have solved the problems, because that's the only way that you won't reinvent the wheels, and actually you get to have solutions to a large number of problems which can really let you go forward. Thank you.
Kansha, she'll be talking about analyst role.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Thank you, Shweta, and thank you, Lipika and Shweta. I think they have shared a wonderful information about the user experience and text analytics. So let me take a little one lens above the text analytics and user experience, that is the analysis role. So I hope you all like shopping. You like shopping? And how many of you like online shopping? Okay, I sincerely think you would like online shopping if it would involve more of your friends and family members. That is, the social importance of shopping in the real world could be integrated to the virtual world as well. And we have seen that happening in yesterday's talk. So I thought, why not think about it? How would it evolve? And what took it to this stage? So let's talk about the analysts and how can they make a difference to the businesses and to the societies. Today, we will talk about analyst profession as it is and the skills required for you to ramp up to this role. How does it help women? How does it take it to be there? The demands and applications of the role, and how can you leverage that opportunity to reach one level, or how can you progress your career about that. So let's first understand analysts. So any analyst would first want to break down a complex business problem into smaller bits and try to take up every bit of it in smaller portions, analyze it, and then try to make decisions out of it. Analytics, on the other hand, is interpreting the history and predicting the future, as I take it. And combined together, we apply business intelligence to all the organizations. So there are three basic categories which I think are important here. One is the data analysts, another is business analyst, and the third one is system analyst. So if you look at any problem, these three analysts would be involved in the complete solutioning part of it. So data analyst is involved in fetching the data or the transactions which we have made till now and figure out the stories which the numbers have to tell. They have to be an expert in big data and other database queries and sort of those kind of skills. Business analyst, on the other hand, needs to be very creative. She needs to understand the problem and then try to give the creative solutions to it. They might also need some of the prototyping of web designing in today's world. System analyst, on the other hand, studies the integration of different systems and needs to represent it in the form of unified modeling language. So these are some of the acquired skills which we need to develop over time. We might be coming from an IT background, but we might have to develop, more importantly, the domain skills, the business knowledge. So without business knowledge, I would not allow anybody to sustain in this domain. So if you have curiosity, if you ask yourself, why am I doing a task which I am assigned to, I think you are the right person to take up this role. We all have acquired skills which we have done throughout our education, our college degrees, our certifications, and some of the real life skills as well. Now it's time to combine these skills with the soft skills which are inherent to us, like creativity, curiosity. The three major skills required by an analyst are to solve the problem, to have a good communication, and the third is to have critical thinking. Now why it is important? Let me take an example of a mall wherein you see chocolates kept near the billing counters. Now what if the mall decides to have more healthy stuff? Before jumping into the conclusion of just putting juices there, we might have to think about the problem a little bit more, recognize assumptions that people spend 2 or 3 hours in the mall before coming into the billing counter. Then evaluate arguments whether to provide a juice or whether to provide a water first. And then draw conclusions that this is how a bachelor would react to the situation, this is how a kid would react to the situation. So all these skills make you a better person in life, and as well you can apply the same skills to this analyst role. Communication itself plays a very important role because you need to continuously engage your stakeholders and get all your work done, as well as communicate what you have done so far to the team. Now coming back to the Flipkart example again, where they have integrated the social media, why do you think would it have been done in the first place? A data analyst would have studied the customer behavior they would have given their reports to the business analysts, and then business analyst on the other hand would have integrated the social environment with the online shopping experience. So both the worlds come together, and then system analyst comes into picture to solve out the integrations, the nitty-gritties of implementation. So all these roles or all these skills are required to solve the organization's problem. An analyst not only solves the problem but also drives businesses, I would say, with technological innovations and revolutionized thinking. Now, how would it take women to be at that place? Sorry, I am just getting it. So, we are multifaceted. We come from multiple backgrounds. We might be from IT, we might be working as a call representative, we might be under financial domain, or we might be an entrepreneur itself. So, we have different skills, but the good news is that all of us can come into this domain if we have the curiosity, if we have the knowledge to build on our skills to the next level. So taking my example itself, I was not an analyst from the beginning. In fact, many companies do not hire analysts as a fresher. So you build on your skills, you develop with whatever opportunity that you have got, and then slowly transition into this role by getting more of business knowledge, by building on to that. And the key word would be to stay relevant and competitive in whichever domain you select. You can get the IT infrastructure knowledge, or you can get the mathematics, statistics knowledge by building on to the studies. But the domain is what you have to stick into. And that even allowed me to take a break in between my career when I had to due to personal reasons, which I am sure all of us might have to do in one point of our career. So staying relevant and competitive is the key mantra to have a successful story as an analyst. Now, what if we become analysts and if there is no demand? But the good news is there is lots and lots of demand in India as well as abroad. In fact, the Forbes magazine has published that there is 89.9% increase in the jobs that involve big data. And why is analysis becoming so popular these days? It's because of the information that we are gathering. I can recall 10 years back, we used to collect information through surveys or through feedback forms, which used to come to the actual analyst in about months or days. But now, with every click, you are being noted, your data is being captured. So information flow is very natural, and that is evolving the business intelligence on top of it, very popular. So in any industry, if you see, it is important. Either an organization would increase its sale or improve the product or service which is offering, or give a customer a better experience, study its behavior patterns. So these are the applications of this role in different industries. Now what if you have been there in this role for a while? You are an expert yourself, you are good at analysis, but where do you go after that? You can take up any role. You can the doors are open for you to become a leadership, to take a leadership role, or to be an execution excellent person. So you can take up program management, project management, do certifications and reach up top of the ladder, or you can become a data scientist or an expert in different domain so that you can progress on it. So now it's time to take charge of your career, to see how you look at businesses and how businesses look at you. I am now open for any questions that you might have. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I think Akansha did a great job of just setting me up for exactly what I'm talking about, like her end of her talk. So I'm going to be talking about being a data scientist, what it's like, what skill sets you need to have for it, and what your growth is going to be like when you are a data scientist. I'm working in Microsoft now, and I actually started getting into this field about 3 years ago, before it was even cool, I think, especially when I was in the US. And now it's so nice to see how there's so much of growth, and you saw over the last day, over yesterday, there was so many sessions, there was a whole track on ML and data science. So it's really, really grown, this whole field itself. So let's talk about why this is suddenly so exciting. Like everywhere now, this is 2015's hottest profession. It's the sexiest job of the 21st century. And all of this is coming from the fact that I think on LinkedIn, people who have data science as part of their career, as part of their skill sets, they're now the most sought after professionals. So let's talk about why that is. So now we know there's a lot of hype, like you see it in the press, you see it in conferences like this. Data science is like the new buzzword, ML and data science. So what does it actually mean to be a data scientist? Who is one? Data science is actually this, I don't know why this clicker is not working. Yeah, so data scientist is actually like a combination of a few different things. So you have to have a good computer science sort of background. You need to have math and statistics, deep understanding so that you don't get biased. And you have to have that domain expertise. So there's different versions, if you could see, like, you know, having just math and statistics and the domain expertise is like a traditional research field. Just having programming and math and statistics is just ML. But having all three together, that's where the unicorn is. Like, that's that key part of becoming a data scientist. And it's very, very hard to find, because it's hard to get deep expertise in all three of these areas. But these are not the only skill sets you need. You actually need even more than this. Other skill sets that you would require is data visualization. It's so important once you get those insights to actually visualize and present them in the right way. And most important of all is when you have the data, when you know what when you have everything presented to you, you need to know how to ask the right questions. So you have to ask the right questions, tell your story effectively, and be able to visualize the data so that you can tell your story effectively. So it's even more difficult than just those three different buckets. You have to also be able to have another layer on top of that, which is presenting it. So it's almost like a combination of everything you've heard till now. You know, it's text analytics, which is part of data science. It's knowing how to do data analytics in general, and doing that whole usability and knowing what your customer wants and telling that story effectively. So it's a big amalgamation of everything that you've heard until now. And data scientists can come from lots of different backgrounds. I've worked with people who never had like a traditional computer science background, who came from economics, who came from network engineering sometimes, or like neuroscience. And it doesn't matter which area you come from. The key is to be data-driven and to have that inquisitiveness, and then you could sort of pick up and become a data scientist. And I think that everybody mentioned there's lots of different roles that are very similar to this, and this is just like a flavor of that. But everyone does different parts of being a data scientist itself. So now you know what it takes, or what sort of areas you need to be in to be a data scientist. But let's see what skill sets you need to have. Like what all do you need to know? So this is an interesting graph that was actually made by my colleague when I was working at LinkedIn. So this is like a connected graph of all the different skill sets that anybody who's a data scientist in LinkedIn, they list in their profile. So the bigger it is, the more number of times it was mentioned, and the ones that are connected and they have the similar colors, they're the ones that are mentioned together most of the time. So you can see it's very clear. There's a lot of these programming techniques. There's R, there's Python, there's all of those types of skill sets that you require. You need to know about statistics and machine learning and probability, and that's another whole set. And then you also need to know about basic computer science, like you need to know algos, you need to know some sort of AI. And there's also, strangely, there's things like MATLAB and other, tools and technologies that you have to also use well. So this is very daunting, right? There's so many things, like how am I supposed to pick up all of these things? The good news is that you don't. Like, these are all different slices that you can take, and if you just perfect that one slice, you can still become a data scientist. Like I said, the main thing is to be data-driven. So now you know what all is required. I talked about that. So if it's so hard, why? Why do I have to become one? What's the motivation? Why do I have to go through all of this effort and become a data scientist? There's lots and lots of reasons why this has become like the hottest profession. There is a huge demand. I think there's lots and lots of studies about the gap that exists in the demand and the number of people who are actually filling that talent pool. There's a very, very big demand. And when there's a lot of demand, economics tells us that the people who have that skill set, they're the ones who have all the power. So when you have that skill set, you get a lot of power to pick and choose and see what you want to do. So the demand is one huge reason. And I think the demand has been growing, is now starting to grow a lot in India. It's been consistently high in the US and in some parts of Europe. But now it's starting to pick up a lot in India, and over the next few years, this is going to continue to grow a lot until that gap is met. Apart from that, like once I actually get into the field, what else is good about that role? Okay, I'm having technical issues. Okay, so what else is good about it? So a data scientist has a very, very important role to play in any company or any organization, because they have the key decision-making power. So you have the data, you have the ability to tell the right story, and the story you tell will drive so many big decisions. So you have that. It's almost scary. I always felt very, very scared, because I would go and tell someone like, hey, there's this insight, this is what you should do, and they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to change everything that I'm doing right now. And it's very scary, because you have to be very careful about how you analyze it and what story you tell, and make sure that there's no bias, because we all know correlation does not equal causation. So even just that small little bias can change a lot of things. So there's a lot of power and a lot of responsibility, and that's very exciting, because what you say and what you do, because you have that expertise, will drive people many, many levels above you to make the decisions that they need to make. And it's another big thing about this is that you can grow and learn very, very well. So the good thing about having all these different skill sets and being able to tell the story correctly is that it's very easy for you to shift from being a data scientist to any other role. So you can, because you're touching so many different fields, you're touching this whole research kind of field, you're still doing programming and very traditional development. You're also doing a lot of this understanding the customer, talking to them, and explaining whatever insights you've got. So it's very easy from that role, when you see different aspects of it, to see what is the part that I love the most. And you can always easily switch, because you've been doing so many aspects of it. You can easily be like, okay, now I think I love the research part of it more than anything else. I don't really want to do coding so much. It's so easy to switch. Or like I just did, because I decided that the one that I liked the most was talking to customers and asking the right questions, and I decided to switch into program management. So it's very, very simple from being a data scientist to switch into anything else and to grow in any way you want. So it's actually the most flexible kind of role that you can have. And again, easy to sort of get back into. And so it sets you up for success in so many ways, just because of the amount of responsibility and the amount of work that you do as part of your career. So now you know why. So how do you actually become one? So there's a traditional way of how to do it. You go, you take your courses, you learn about AI, you learn machine learning, you have your traditional computer science courses, and there's lots and lots of online courses, like on Coursera. Everybody knows about the ML courses on Coursera. So go and sign up for those. It's very simple to sort of take that traditional route, and then bam, you land yourself a data science job. Or there's also lots of other ways to just get your hands dirty by doing competitions, going for hackathons, and then you actually get experience with the data, and that's the most important thing. Like, nothing can teach you about data science as much as like a Kaggle competition. So there's no course that's equivalent to that. So that's another really, really interesting way. I know lots of people who have no background in it, who've never learned any of this, but they've become so good with Kaggle competitions that people just hire them. It's a very, very common practice, especially in the US, and it's starting to grow here as well. And then the most important of all is just taking that data-driven mindset and just really, really honing and working on it, because you'll always have data. This is the age where there's data everywhere, like in any field. I remember seeing somewhere that, you know, there's smart washing machines and ovens, like there's data everywhere that you want to look for it. And what you need to be doing is just looking at the data and being like, what can I get from it? Because data always has something to say. It's up to you to find it and be like, is that interesting? Can I derive anything from that? And that's the key to being a data scientist. Like, it doesn't matter how many courses you do, how many competitions you do, but just taking any piece of data and just challenge yourself to be like, what can I find from this? And it can be really, really fulfilling. It's this great aha moment when you find something cool in a piece of data. And more importantly, like, you know, so that's a way to go into that field. But whatever you're doing right now, you can always bring data science to you. In fact, there's a new term that's called citizen data scientists, where, you know, people who are, as part of their own jobs, they can just empower themselves and empower their teams to take data science as part of their job. So data is everywhere. You don't have to be a traditional data scientist to do this. So find that data, explore it. And again, tools and packages are everywhere. There's so many tools, I think, that you've all heard about here as part of these talks as well. So find those tools. It's never been this easy to analyze anything. But again, always remember, I remember seeing this somewhere, but a fool with a tool is still only a fool. So it's very important to make sure you know what's happening behind it so that you're not putting any inherent biases as part of your tool. And just keep asking questions, like ask lots and lots of questions, and finally you'll end up asking the right questions, because the key is knowing what to ask. Data scientists do not wait for people to be like, give me the data, what question do you want answered? I will answer it. That's not how it works. You find the data, clean it, ask the right questions. So be data-driven, be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Tulsi.